皆さんこんにちは and welcome to Shogo's podcast. So today I would like to share with you a story that I heard from this person who was contacting messages through Instagram, the direct messages. By the way, I love talking with my fellow viewers through the DM of Instagram. So if you'd like to ask me any questions or anything, feel free to contact me anytime, okay? So there was this girl that contacted me about something that she was concerned about, worried about, since something she experienced. So she's actually of half, I believe, of a Japanese and from Philippines, yes. And she was hoping to work in Japan, she told me. And she visited or took part in one of these job fairs, actually, where there's different booths. Each company will have each booths and different sections, and the people can go to these booths and talk to the companies that they're interested in, right? So she said she took part in one of these job fairs, and she told me that she had a really bad experience because when she went to one of the booths of a Japanese company and they were talking with him or her, I don't know, probably a him, and she was asked like how like what is your Japanese language level like and such. And in the end, the person who was at the booth told her that because she looks a little like Japanese, because she's half Japanese, because she looks like a Japanese person, not having the enough Japanese skills would be like a negative point for their company. So, well, this is not a really nice thing to say in the first place. And she was a little bit hurt, and that's the reason why she contacted me, right? So, and she asked me for my advice, like, what should I do? So, I thought this story, what I answered to her, might be useful for other people too, so I wanted to talk about this today. So, what I told her were three things. So, number one is that, Japanese, in Japan, the culture of the job hunting season, all the companies and the job interviews, they have this very weird culture of like putting pressure on the people who come and take their exams. That's number one. And number two is you should be proud that you were born and brought up not outside of Japan, but you have a Japanese background. There's a way, definitely a positive way to use that. And number three, there's, of course, being able to speak Japanese is very important to work in Japan, of course, right? But not just Japanese, but for example, in Japan, the business rules and all the manners and such are very complicated and there's a lot to learn, right? So learning about the business rules in Japan would definitely be beneficial as well. So these are the three things I talked about. So let me take a closer look at each of them, okay? So number one, again, in Japan, for example, at job interviews, I forgot how you call it in Japanese, but anyways, like for example, the companies would ask the interviewees questions, right? And then when they answer something, they would say something very strongly or with kind of try to put pressure on the person and check their stress tolerance. So I think this is a very, very mean way to do something. But anyways, I did want to kind of share my experience with you. When I was in university, when I was taking part in job hunting, I actually quit job hunting after going to the third company, actually. But when I went to the second company, they asked me what my goal is for my life, my whole life, and I answered, I want to make this world as peaceful as possible. Like world peace would be great. If they asked me my ultimate goal, right? What would be like the biggest dream I would have? I answered world peace. It'll be better if everyone's happy, right? And then they told me, they like almost glared at me and told me that my dream would never come true. I talked about this in one of my main channels, actually, my videos in my main channel. But yeah, they told me this, and I was very, very disappointed. Because, well, of course, world peace is something that's super hard to achieve. That's really obvious. I know that it's not like a day or two thing, right? But, having a big dream isn't anything bad, right? And especially, I was like, what, 21 or something years old at that time? Why would a person like in their 40s or 50s, like a senpai, of life, why would they try to crush a young person's dream, right? But this is the culture in Japan. They try to put stress on you and see how you'd react. Like if, for example, if you suddenly get very angry, you don't have any stress tolerance, so you're not good for the company. Well, I guess it might be effective in some ways to understand that person, but still, I don't think it's a very nice way to do it, right? But, anyways, like Japan and many companies, well, I shouldn't say many, but some companies are like this. So, I think that's something that you can keep in mind. So, you don't have to be hurt if someone or like some company does this to you. This is some weird culture in Japan that some people do. And number two, you should focus on the things that you're benefiting from because you're not a Japanese person, right? Japan is an island, and the values and the ways of looking at things, the ways of life, for example, and such are so biased, in Japan. And that's something I understand because I grew up in America, and I came over to Japan. And I am 100% Japanese by blood, but, my identity isn't right. So as a person like that living in Japan, I feel that, still, even though the world is so connected, we're not actually connected yet in Japan, especially. So there are a lot of course, good companies too in Japan, a lot of people who are open-minded. And these people, they want to actually have people work in their companies who have different points of views, who was born and brought up in different countries and grew up in different cultures and such. So I really hope that even if some of the companies do or say terrible things to you, I really hope you can continue to look for these people, for these companies. They'll be kind to you and cherish you for who you are and for your characters and backgrounds and such, because there are definitely people out there who will do that for you. So yeah, so there's nothing that you have to be worried about. That's what I told her through the DM, yes. And number three, again, this is the last one. The business rules, again, in Japan are very strict, right? And again, I made a video about the outdated rules in Japan, the outdated business rules, and I said that a lot of things need to change. But again, each culture has their own rules, and if you're going to be working or living in that country and its culture and its religion and such, there are some places that you have to try to blend in and understand, right? So if you're going to be doing that, I think, of course, Japanese is something, it's really, I think, studying languages is fun. As a person who's studied Chinese from scratch, I understand that. And of course, studying Japanese is important, I think. But also in terms of working, though, if you want to kind of like make an appeal point that might be different from other people, I think learning about the business rules in Japan would definitely be something beneficial. You don't always have to be like, super obedient to all what should I say? The companies that are really arrogant and such, right? But I think it's always useful to keep these things in mind, definitely. And if you look them up, the Japanese business rules, there are a lot of books and YouTube videos. I'm going to be making my own in the future too, of course, but that talk about these business rules. For example, how you exchange name cards, how you do your greetings, for example, to your seniors and such, to your superiors. And learning about this is something really important, I think. And the people will definitely think that you're very respectful to the culture, right? So I think that if you really want to work in Japan, this is something that you can do, which is a lot easier than studying Japanese. If you, like, for example, read one book, you would definitely understand the basics of the business rules, which is most what Japanese people do here. We just usually read one book or learn for about a month about the business rules once you enter the company and such. So if you even know just like one greeting or just one manner business rules in Japan, the person will definitely realize that, and they will probably be very thankful and happy that you're so considerate about the culture and very respective. It's really respective, right? So I think that's something that you can do if you really want to work in a Japanese company. All right. So, by the way, I'm not saying that everyone should work in a Japanese company. This story is for people who want to, but maybe are struggling or having a hard time deciding where to work or how to be actually hired and such. This is just a story for that. So, I hope I didn't sound too rude to you or for the people listening. All right. So, if you have anything else that you'd like to learn about Japanese business rules, or maybe, for example, starting a business in Japan and such, you can ask me through the Instagram. And again, I also have the video in my main channel, which the link is inside the description box. You can take a look at that too. All right. And before I end, I want to introduce to you my membership of the main channel, which is also in the description box, where we make easygoing videos, kind of a relaxed version of me I always make. Recently, we do a weekly live too, by the way. And recently I talked about one of the most tragic experiences I had once I started YouTube and such. If you're interested, I hope you can take a look at my membership. And all the profit we make from the membership will be donating to the NGOs that are working to make Japan better, or to the people who we interview for the Voices from Japan series. So I hope you can check out our membership too. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. ありがとうございました。